Namaskar. The Narendra Modi government is 3 years old now, but every day it's making new moves to make a new India. In our special series, 3 Saal Modi Sarkar, we're also speaking directly to union ministers to find out what they've achieved in these 3 years, how did they get to where they are, and where they want to go till 2019. And today we're speaking to Union Civil Aviation Minister Ashok Gajapati Raju, who has the responsibility of ensuring and steering the wings of India's climb into the clouds. So welcome to the show. You seem to be in an enviable position now because of the growth, the kind of growth that the aviation sector has seen, 23%, 1 crore flyers a month. That is already quite a mean achievement. But how did it happen and where do you see it going?
Well, I guess aviation has an impact on the economy. It also benefits from the economy. So when the economy behaves, aviation behaves. Here we've had say 22 months of over 20% growth, which is, I don't think any country in the world has had it. But to arrive there, it meant a lot of work. And I guess that work was put in.
You must have increased capacity, the number of flights must have been added, carriers have been added, airports have been expanded or added. Could you talk a little bit more about that?
You see, if flights are growing, number of aircraft flying Indian skies are growing. And basically the psychology that this was for the privileged few, that's gone. Flying has become affordable. If you look at average 2015 prices of tickets and 2016 prices of tickets, the average prices have come down 28%. Whole country, so competition is going on. In fact, our analysis was that 1.7% of the ticketing was a matter of concern. High price, so it requires special strategies. Now, those strategies have to be worked on, and those are more difficult. So as of now, competition is taking care of things. Trade requires a definiteness in policy, though policy is not truth for all time to come. But it gives them a confidence. The civil aviation policy was put out. Then UDAN has come in, regional connectivity, that has also started.
What's that going to do to the sector? What are you projecting for, say, 2017-18 and beyond with UDAN in play?
UDAN, I'll give you an example. 70 years into our independence, 72 destinations connected. Now UDAN in its first lot is the low-hanging fruit, basically. First lot is going to connect 33 destinations. So 72 plus 33. So India is on a good wicket, and we need to take it forward.
And how's the road of taking it forward? Is it smooth? Are all the stakeholders that need to be on board, the states, the carriers themselves, are they playing ball?
Most of them are coming in. They understand, they stand to reason. So most of them come in. Some, of course, try to play difficult.
For instance?
They take a little more time to understand it. Because psychologically there is a problem. Everybody thought that the aviation was a travel mode for the rich. But that's history. Now it's not only passengers. Now the government wants to push up rural incomes, so cargo has a place. Now strategies are there to push cargo. Growth-wise, if you see percentages of growth, yes, they are there, but it's a very low base. So the base has to be improved. Then it will start taking off and it will start contributing to the economy. So I guess So they are slowly understanding that. So once things fall in place, it takes off, it's good.
Where has this understanding been very slow to develop in terms of states?
You see, the thing is that if you don't have passengers, for instance, and you put a flight there and offer those destinations, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So airlines will lose.
Airports will lose.
Everyone loses.
Everyone loses.
So you need to have it correctly formulated.
Okay.
So you need an information exchange. Like you take Mysore, Bangalore.
There isn't adequate information exchange?
I don't think so.
What's the ideal there?
You see, the tourism department and the
State government.
the ASI, all of them, they should share information. State government should share the information. Then it becomes easy. Right now,
how will it help?
That's exactly what I told the new chief, Uttar Pradesh chief minister. I met him in the airport. So I said, I can give you one example. Taj Mahal last year got 60 lakh visitors. I understand 7 lakh foreigners who bought tickets. I go free.
Tickets, yeah, okay.
No, tickets to enter the monument.
Enter the monument.
Now, in Indians, where are they coming from? Say, if this one if is an if, it needs to be firmed up. Suppose you have 10 lakh people from this 53 lakhs or so coming from South India. It could be more. And the bulk of them say coming from Karnataka. Then Bangalore-Agra will make sense. A flight. Or probably Chennai-Agra or Hyderabad-Agra.
But that's ticketing information of flights that can be readily available.
We need to develop systems where these things will happen automatically.
So you need information on which people are buying those tickets to enter the monument and then figure out how many more flights.
It can be a ballpark figure. It need not be accurate.
It can be a projection also.
It can be a projection. It need not be accurate to the last man, but it has to be close to reality.
Okay.
So that will, these type of informations, if we are able to share with airlines,
You've got the ball rolling on that.
We started it. You see, now our government, we don't want to rest on laurels. 3 years of work, yes, we are happy, we are satisfied. But you can't rest on laurels. You see, you have to learn more from your mistakes so that they are not committed again. And you have to go forward.
Have there been mistakes in your
I
sector?
think there's no life where there's no mistake.
What would you say? What was a mistake?
You see, I'll put it another way. In 2014, we had brought out a civil aviation requirement on behavior on board. And in my wildest of dreams, I never thought an MP would get caught, and got caught.
Okay.
So I realized that immediately that the
and that
civil
was an Air India
aviation
employee with the public.
let's not confuse it. But the civil aviation requirement, I told Parliament, is inadequate, and we need to attend to it. So recently, just 2 days back, we have put up again what we think is a balanced civil aviation requirement. So in November 2014, I was minister. Same minister, so you are willing to learn from your mistakes and go ahead and take people along with you and try and make it as vibrant as you can.
The MP in question, Professor Gaikwad, apologized, but he, once you put out those draft proposals for the no-fly list, seemed unapologetic. He said there should be rules of conduct for employees of airlines as well.
Yeah, there are.
There are already.
There are already.
So he seems a little ignorant there.
No, I won't use such strong terminology, but you see, there are rules there. And
it seems ignorant. I'm not saying he is ignorant.
No, but I won't even say that. But you see, it is not only that. If you have a genuine grievance, there is a portal also now.
Air Seva.
Air Seva. And passenger-friendly measures that this government has taken.
Oh, I've seen your deputy constantly, Jayant Sinha, keeps on responding to people's tweets. That is quite amazing. Which minister in which country does that?
Well, some people have the aptitude for that, and I'm fortunate that JNG has that aptitude, because I won't have that aptitude.
It's commendable. It's commendable. It's good to it's good that you've delegated that responsibility to a person who is so pleasant and so responsive.
So it's nice in a way, but overall the impact is good. People are responding. People are now asking about what their rights ought to be. But it's good. It should be that way.
And if we talk a little bit more about Udaan, because certain misgivings were also expressed about the fact that there will be charges that will be levied on the high traffic sectors, and that price is fixed, so it might be distortive. Do you feel that once Udaan is fully operational, it will give a fitting answer to all those people who've been questioning how it will be implemented?
You see, the question is Udaan, those who are cynical.
Cynical, yes.
After all, what is India's problem?
That's a strong word, cynical.
Cynicism.
Yeah.
Now, if you attempt and try in right earnest, you can succeed, you can fail. In success, you have further motivation.
Yes.
In failure, you have a lesson. If you are willing to learn that lesson, you are a better person. You deliver better. So, the attitude of how you have to approach is important. Now, some people don't like certain things, and it's left to them. One former member of parliament asked me, "What is your secret?" I tried to avoid it. He insisted. So I told him, allow people to work, and they deliver. And that's exactly what is happening now. Allowing people to work, understanding their problems, and going ahead. It is people that make the country. So this government is attending to people.
Right.
And that's what's going to make it a success.
You're also allowing Air India to do its work?
Yeah, why not? Air India's problems are a little different in nature. It's basically legacy.
Yeah, huge problems, legacy-wise.
Huge legacy problems. In fact, they've improved in all parameters. And
they declared an operational profit, but the CAG was skeptical about that.
You see, they have improved on all parameters. Now, for an accountant's way of looking at accounts is something different. They are like in a debt trap. It's legacy issues. So they have to be brought out of that. It would require strategies. But otherwise they prove that they are a good airline, they can work.
Oh, they've been getting their pricing right domestically, that their competitors have been cribbing about predatory pricing for last minute purchases.
You see, any prudent flyer can buy a ticket at a reasonable cost. That's what I said, only 1.7% of a year's ticketing is a matter of concern. And these are in certain sectors basically. Probably those things would need additional capacity, things like that. But if a person can't, prudent is so imprudent that he can buy his ticket at the last minute, there is a problem. Emergencies are a different cup of tea. Because on sectors where you do not have that type of traffic, last minute purchasing is becoming a problem. But there are no simplistic answers. I have been a legislator for 7 terms. And I know I used to use something called an EQ, emergency quota in the railways. And I can tell you there was nothing emergent about my travel. So it should not degenerate to that type of levels. Emergency means emergency. So how do you keep it out of government? These are not, don't have simplistic answers. Motivation should continue, competition should continue, and overall the country has benefited out of this.
Sounds great. We'll talk about this further because there's a lot to talk about where civil aviation is concerned. We're taking a very short break in this special show. Stay tuned.
हर बड़े ट्रैक्टर में वो दम कहां जो खेती और जिंदगी का अंदाज बदल दे। ये मुमकिन है सिर्फ टेक्नोलॉजी से। महिंद्रा अर्जुन नोवो। जब इसका दमदार इंजन दे गहरी जुताई, तब बदलता है खेती का अंदाज। और 30 गियर स्पीड्स करे तेजी से खेती, तब बदलता है कमाई का अंदाज। और जब टेक्नोलॉजी से होती है तरक्की, तब बदलता है जीने का अंदाज। महिंद्रा अर्जुन नोवो, जिंदगी का अंदाज बदल दे।
झाड़ के पीछे, पेड़ के नीचे, तालाब के आजू, पटरी के बाजू, करते हो तुम पेट हल्का, ना शौचालय ना है नल का, फैल गई गंदगी बीमारी चारों ओर। अरे इसीलिए बॉस शट द डोर।
मतलब
दरवाजा बंद करो, दरवाजा बंद, दरवाजा बंद तो बीमारी बंद। अरे खुले में जब शौच करोगे, खुल के रोग फैलाओगे, तो भाई बीमार पड़ोगे सब संग।
तो क्या करें?
दरवाजा बंद करो, दरवाजा बंद, दरवाजा बंद तो बीमारी बंद। बात समझ में आई तो ही लाओ अपनी मुंडी, शौच करना है तो बंद करो भाई कुंडी। शौचालय का उपयोग कीजिए और भारत को स्वच्छ बनाइए।
एक गेम चेंजर क्रिएट करता है पाथ ब्रेकिंग माइलस्टोन्स। जीएसटी सुगम व्यापार को दे नए आयाम। एक गेम चेंजर को होना चाहिए फास्ट। जीएसटी एक सरल और बेहतर टैक्स सिस्टम। गेम चेंजर वो है जो बदले आपकी तरफ दुनिया का नजरिया। जीएसटी बनाए अर्थव्यवस्था को व्यापार के अनुकूल।
जीएसटी एक गेम चेंजिंग पहल।
जीएसटी एक राष्ट्र, एक कर, एक बाजार।
Welcome back. We're talking to Union Minister for Civil Aviation, Ashok Gajpati Raju. It's all about the Modi government completing 3 years and what's been happening in the civil aviation sector in that period and what can we expect in the coming 2 years and perhaps even beyond. Sir, if I could again come back to how things have been expanding, you've also been looking at heliports and that there's been a major development there. Could you tell us a little bit more about the plans as far as using of helicopters in the country is concerned, because that is almost not there at this moment?
It's practically non-existent.
Happens more in the time of elections when people like you use helicopters.
Well, I used a helicopter, but not in an election.
Okay.
Anyway,
I said like you.
You see, a helicopter in difficult terrains makes sense.
Yeah.
India's first helipad was opened recently in Rohini, here in Delhi. And in the civil angle of it. Now here, one has to have strategies because this is higher cost. Fixed wings are not are cheaper in comparison. So, but in difficult terrains like our own islands we have, our own hilly areas we have, helicopters make sense where the road connectivity, the train connectivity, this is poor. So in those areas it is, we are trying to increase it. We are trying to get the private sector to also participate. Okay. Regulations like right now 5,000 feet and below, the helicopters are free now to fly. So these type of things that were, and earlier they had to get permissions to fly around. Now they just intimate. Okay. So there's a difference. So that way, things are improving, but I think we need to go a bit more.
The same with the small fixed wing aircraft.
Small fixed wing aircraft also has a place, because airstrips, we have probably, because India being big, we have close to 400 airstrips in the country, and these airstrips won't take the modern aircrafts. Okay. And this is a wealth which can be harnessed can have improved connectivity if we have smaller aircrafts. Now, smaller aircrafts are, you can say, not so fashionable.
Private jets are.
Private jets are different. But smaller aircraft, say 20 seaters, they are not that fashionable. This ATRs also from 42 seats have gone up to 72 seats now.
Right.
So they are also growing bigger and bigger. So we need smaller aircrafts, particularly if certain airports in our country have to remain connected.
Okay.
So we need strategies to bring them, encourage them, and we are working on it.
Some incentivization might be in the offing.
The Udan scheme itself is an
It's an incentive
incentivization.
on its own.
And let's see, because it takes about 2 years to develop a route. The viability gap funding cannot be there for eternity.
Naturally. It's for
Then
three years, right?
It's for 3 years, because we feel that in 2 years, if a route doesn't get developed and 3 years still requires viability gap funding, probably it will never be an economically viable route.
And in terms of the other allied services like cargo you had mentioned earlier, and then of course maintenance, repair and overhaul, that's a huge potential of earning and employment, jobs in the entire aviation sector. The potential is massive. What is happening in those areas? Because I know that there were plans in the policy. How's it being implemented and how's it gone so far?
You see, our finance department has given us a service tax concession for MROs. Then a customs window where they could use spare parts for a longer period of time. So all those things have
And
been...
the state governments too, zero-based VAT?
We have been requesting them because unless that is done,
It won't take off.
the taxation should not be a level of where it discourages the economic activity from out of here. Now, if you take most Indian private players, you see, where are they going now? They're flying to Dubai, flying to Singapore or Sri Lanka for getting their aircrafts serviced. And in Dubai and Singapore, there are a lot of Indian engineers working on those aircrafts. So it's not as if it's a skill job. It can be done in India. We have skilled people. We have strategies for improving on skills. So I think it's an activity that can come back to our country and can provide a lot of jobs. We are trying.
Yeah, because I read somewhere that 8,000 commercially trained pilots are jobless.
It used to be about 8,000.
Okay.
Now the figure has come down to close to about 3,000 and
that's
odd.
wonderful,
But we still have, and there's a mismatch in those skills.
Okay.
You see, type rating, we need to get it going in India. So skill development strategies are also required, and we are working on that direction.
Yeah, I spoke to the Minister for Skill Development as well, and he mentioned aviation as a huge vertical, and there are different requirements in that as well. So you need a different skill set for people who are, on board and serving the passengers directly, and of course those who are involved in the back end of, maintaining the aircraft and everything. And that, of course, is in the pipeline, and the industry is on board with that as well. So that's great.
And existing opportunities, we are trying to get it used to its optimum levels. Because even there was an underutilization of the existing, say, simulators within the country. So now not only increasing simulation activity, but also utilizing your simulators properly. So it's working out slowly, and I think we are on the right direction.
In terms of what you need from, say, your ministerial colleagues, you mentioned information sharing where the Department of Tourism comes in, and from state governments. What would be the one thing that you need that will really, really boost the aviation sector and help it reach the kind of heights that everybody in the world is projecting that it would?
It is capable of reaching tremendous heights. Actually, we are the fastest growing, and we could be number 3 in the world. It's visible, like...
we can overtake the United Kingdom, then only US and China will be left.
So, that way it has its potential. Probably the understanding of how this works needs a little more attention.
Would the coming in of GST have a positive impact on the sector?
You see, GST in a way will give us a double whammy because petroleum products are kept out of GST and we have a federal structure. So state governments which have already come down to say reasonable levels like 4-5% or less
on VAT.
On VAT. There are some state governments. Our regional connectivity is on 1%. There are state governments that go on 1%. So 1% and all those type of state governments won't have a problem. Like here Delhi, they went up from 20 to 25%. So those places, the costs will suddenly shoot up. And they can't get set-offs because so that's the problem. So we've been throwing this up, flagging this issue, and if probably state governments realize it and states and center work together, a lot of these problems can be solved.
Last but not the least, how are we on safety? Because on record we have great safety ratings and everything, but every other day you keep on hearing of one incident or the other, 2 planes almost brushing each other, or some dog running on the runway. How do you deal with those issues so that, you know, these niggling doubts about our security and safety aspect are eliminated?
This is security is a different cup of tea.
Yeah.
Safety is a different cup of tea.
I club those two.
Now, security cannot be compromised, safety cannot be compromised. That's a complex thing. Now, India's safety record is good. Of course, standard operating procedures, wherever they are violated, you do hear of an aberration here, there, and all that. But DGCA is active. The audit, safety audit is taken into account, and thank God, there's no major mishap.
Right.
But I myself am very
what the critics have been
confident.
saying. The expectation is that CISF is posted everywhere at every airport for every duty, which is not possible. But what's the next best alternative?
You see, security also...
Not CISF, CISF, sorry.
Security, CISF is there in all our major airports, CISF mans it. But they are expected to follow the Bureau of Civil Aviation Security.
Right.
They set the standards, the security standards, the architecture, the audit, all that is done by them. And whoever it is, whether it's CISF or whether it is in other police forces that do it, the standards are set by BCAS. And they continuously watch incidents all around the world and keep updating, because these things are dynamic. They don't, they're not static.
SOPs as well.
And it's a mixture between technology and manpower.
Yeah.
So how best to utilize it is the question. Now, in the civil aviation field, you need civil activity.
Okay.
You need economic activity. And you have unscrupulous elements testing it and trying to misuse it, you can say.
Yes.
So that misuse has to be kept out. So this is a continuous battle and it keeps going on. But India has a good safety record, a good security record, notwithstanding our problems in our neighborhood, etc. But we have it and we are going ahead.
Is there any special summer season plan that you could announce for our viewers?
Well, summers are hot,
Yeah.
but destinations are increasing. And tourism, to my mind, is the highest employer for capital invested. So, and we have a great country, a rich in heritage country. I think very few countries in the world have heritage like India. And we as Indians should take pride in our heritage, should cherish it, but as a word of caution, we should not live in the past.
But one should travel and one should explore and one should then realize the true value of our heritage.
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. I hope that the next 2 years are equally productive, if not more, for you
we are
and
looking
for the
forward.
government and the country. Thank you.
We are looking forward to it.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.